Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Virginia Council meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. Today's date is Tuesday, Sept 24th, 2019. Pam, would you please take the roll call?
Baraboo.
Present.
Friedlieb. Paulson.
Here.
Beyondich.
Present.
Johnson.
Here.
Sally.
Here.
Cuffey.
Here. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry about that. These goofy chairs.
Okay, we'll move to item 3.1 on the agenda. We have a proclamation for National Fire Week. I've been asked to read on behalf of the council and our firefighter paramedics here and across the region in the United States. Whereas the City of Virginia is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Virginia. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are in locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas home fires killed 2,630 people in the United States in 2017, according to the National Fire Association, NFPA, and fire departments in the United States responded to 357,000 home fires. And whereas the majority of U.S. fire deaths, 4 out of 5 occur at a home each year. And whereas the fire death rate per 1,000 home fires reported to U.S. fire departments was 4% higher in 2017 than in 1980. And whereas the smoke alarm sounds, Virginia's residents may have less than 2 minutes to escape to safety. And whereas Virginia's residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Virginia's residents should make a home escape plan, drawing a map of each level of the home, showing all doors and windows. And Virginia residents should practice the home fire escape plan with everyone in the household, including visitors. And whereas Virginia's residents should practice the home fire escape drill at least twice per year during the day and during the night. Virginia residents should teach children to escape on their own in case adults cannot help them. Whereas Virginia residents should make sure everyone in the home knows how to call 911 or the local emergency number from a cell phone or a neighbor's phone. And whereas Virginia residents should practice using different ways to get out of the building. Virginia residents in a real emergency should get low and go under the smoke and attempt to get out quickly. Virginia residents should get out and stay out, never going back inside the home for people, pets, or personal belongings. Virginia residents are responsible to public education measures and are able to take action to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2019 Fire Prevention Week theme is, quote, "Not every hero wears a cape. Plan and practice your escape," unquote, effectively serves to remind us all that we need to take professional steps to increase our safety from fire. Therefore, I, Larry Cuffey, the Mayor of Virginia, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby claim October 6th through 12th, 2019 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the City of Virginia, and we urge all citizens to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out. In the event of a fire or emergency, respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and to support many public safety activities and efforts of Virginia Fire and Emergency Services during Fire Prevention Week 2019. Therefore, be it resolved, Larry Cuffey Jr., Mayor of Virginia. And the Fire Chief would also like to remind us all that if you have any questions or concerns, want some assistance in establishing an escape plan, you do not hesitate to call the fire department, the fire marshal, or one of the other firefighters would be more happy to assist. And their telephone number is on the website and throughout the various entities all over the place. We have magnets that you put on your refrigerator. Their telephone number is 748-7520. That's 748-7520. So thank you. And thank you for all who serve in our public safety EMS. And we urge all citizens to to try to heed the call to be safe, particularly during Fire Prevention Week and all year long. Okay, we'll move to item 4, which is the public forum. Does anyone in the audience like to speak before the council before we move on to the next agenda item? Seeing no one, we'll move to item 5, which is the consent agenda. The following items will be enacted by one motion unless a councilor or a citizen of the City of Virginia requests that the item be considered separately. Item 5.1, approval and correction of the minutes of the regular meeting that was held September 10th, 2019, and the VITA, Virginia Economic Development Authority public hearing and special council meeting that was held September 10th, 2019. Item 5.2, adopt a 5-branch resolution number 19-018, the schedule of bills. Item 5.3, approve the 2 a.m. liquor license for Flamers doing business as Flamers Incorporated. Item 5.4, approve the following budgeted travel requests. Item 5.A, council administration to attend the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Fall Conference, November 14th and 15th, 2019, in Alexandria, Minnesota, at a cost of $720.80 each. Item 5.4B, Susan Hoppy, Library, to attend the KBFT Presents Nana Booze Who, September 25th, 2019, in Net Lake, Minnesota, at no cost. And item 5.4C, Officer Grivna, Virginia Police Department, to attend this Toward Zero Deaths Conference, October 22nd through the 24th, 2019, in St. Cloud, at no cost. Those are the items on the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion from the council? Moved by Councilor Friedlieb to approve the consent agenda. Is there support? Support. Support by Councilor Paulson. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move to item 6, appearances. There's no one scheduled to appear before the council today, but once again, we invite anyone in the audience that'd like to come and speak. You're welcome to do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll move to item 7, unfinished business. We have no unfinished business, at least as scheduled. We have a lot of unfinished business, but in this particular case, not from the council agenda's perspective. Item 8, discussion items. We'll move to item 8.1, and we have the representatives from Amoresco in the audience today. Approve the energy efficiency project as previously presented by Amoresco in the amount of $2,424,839, contingent upon the city legal review of this project agreement and project financing being obtained. Tom, did you have an opportunity to take a look at this?
Not really. I mean, Bert and I talked about it, but I haven't really.
So the motion today is to approve, contingent upon the city legal review of the project agreement and to secure the project financing. We have discussed this issue at length. So what is the council's pleasure? Councilor Johnson.
Mayor, this is a great step forward for the city, and there are other opportunities as we move forward that $2.4 million. There could be some potential partnerships with the public utilities with that, but in order to figure that out, we do need to approve the project. The two gentlemen from Amoresco are here, and they have been here several times to answer our questions and explain the project. So I'm comfortable moving the project forward at a cost of $2,424,839, contingent upon city legal review and the appropriate project financing being attained.
Moved by Councilor Johnson to approve. Is there support?
I would support.
Is there support?
I would support.
Support by Councilor Freely.
With
Further
the
discussion?
understanding, though,
Freely.
that this is not an entirely out-of-pocket expense for the city, correct?
This is over a 20-year period. It's getting cost savings back for the money we would normally spend over time, the efficiency of the steps that we're taking with green steps and those kind of things will recover those costs over that 20-year period to a zero, we won't, it was a zero cost. We'll recoup all that money. That's the projection of.
But it wouldn't be all of that money, if I recall. Wasn't there an out-of-pocket expense somewhere near 10% of that, or am I mistaken by that?
There were two proposals. We approved both of those proposals. One of them, I think, requires the city to invest upfront. Is it $200,000? Please come forward. Thank you. And please state your name for the record. Once again, welcome.
John Neville, Regional Director for Amoresco. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Appreciate being here. To respond to the question, at the prior meeting, there was a contribution requirement of $255,000 by the city. But now there's been negotiations, as I understand. Britt has made contact with the Virginia Public Utility, and it's my understanding, and I have one of their documents indicating they approved a contribution to the project of a little over $1 million, which helps buy down the project from the 2.4 to approximately 1.4. So that substantially changes. And again, to answer your question, council member, it's a self-funding project, so it's now, instead of 20 years, it's down to 13 years, all self-funded by the guaranteed energy savings from the project itself. That's the essence of the program.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Councilor Freely, any further questions? Okay, thank you. Councilor Bearable?
Yeah, this gentleman is correct. At Monday night's Public Utilities meeting, they did pass a resolution, because I was there. It's not official yet, because they have to go through their official process, but there is a resolution that they're going to participate in this program with Amoresco. So that's all been taken care of and was passed on last night when I was there. But it has to go through the official channels to the end when their minutes become official. But I was going to report on that anyway when I did the Public Utilities program tonight, so I'm just adding it ahead of time.
Thank you, Councilor Bearable. Does that answer your question, Councilor Freely? Thank you. Any councilor have any more discussion with respect to this proposal? It has been moved and supported to move forward with this. Is there any further discussion? Anything else you'd like to add, John?
But just
Certainly.
discussion point. So regarding the financing of the project, now that the utility has graciously stepped up and helped to buy down the project with their contribution, I think we discussed at the last meeting a number of options to proceed. One was, bonding by the city. The other was use city funds. And then the last was to utilize financing that we would put out, RFP on your behalf. So as part of this, after the vote, I'd like to get direction on how the city would like to proceed. And if it's the financing through our RFP, we'll get that started right away.
Very good. Councilor Bearable?
Yeah, this money, I should have explained, comes out of the current conversion that we're doing. There's money available. There was more money than just a steam to gas. This money is coming out of that particular program from the energy dollars that the utilities got back, and that's part of this whole program. That's where that money's coming from the utilities. They explained that last night, because there's more than just what everybody thinks it's for steam conversion to natural gas, but it has to do with other energy savings also.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? I just want to say that you were very thorough, your company, in moving forward with assessing the energy costs in Virginia. That website you have, the access to every individual light pole in the city of Virginia and the other areas is very impressive. So we can just go on there and take a look. And we're going to try to advertise that to ensure the public has that opportunity to do the same. So thank you. Okay, moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And again, just to
The financing?
approach, so just
Please.
to request financing, any
I would refer,
recommendation, how you'd like to
Mayor?
proceed on the financing?
okay, Counselor Bearable, go ahead.
Sir, I would like to make a motion on this, that we have our finance department, along with our administrator, review what our best option is for the city and come back. We have another committee of the whole next week. Come back to that with a recommendation to us, and that would be my motion, because I think they are the ones that are the experts to put together what option we want to use. So that would be my motion.
Okay, motion by Counselor Bearable to move forward with financing by meeting with our city staff and the appropriate individuals to determine what the best way to proceed with respect to the financing package, and then negotiate or communicate with Amoresco and the city council for approval. Is that correct? Is there support? Support by Counselor Paulson and Counselor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Counselor Johnson.
Sherry, has this been discussed at all? Are we prolonging this longer than we need to, or is there already a plan that?
No, me and Britt have, had some ideas rolling around here with George Eilertson and that.
Okay.
So I prefer this motion.
Okay, thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Counselor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we already voted, did we not? Well, we're going to do it right now. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, John?
one more ask. So regarding the legal review, I know we submitted a copy of the legal document at the last prior meeting. Any understanding of time frame?
Probably tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
No, I just want to sit down with Britt and go over.
Oh, okay.
And she's not,
Yeah.
her and I will get together tomorrow. It's not going to take any time.
Okay. I mean, I have a hard copy I brought here this evening, if that would be helpful.
No, we haven't.
Okay. Yeah, I already forwarded on.
That takes care of that question.
Okay, yeah. Very good.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add? Anyone?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm not against your project now, so, like I had been.
I'm sorry?
I'm not against your project like I had been.
No comment.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to the mayor and the council for your approval. And
Well,
then
thanks-
we'll
thanks
be
for
here.
taking
The
the-
2 weeks is meeting of the whole, and that's next week, committee of the whole.
And then the following week's another council meeting.
So the motion was for the meeting at the committee of the whole, is that correct?
We'll go back to the committee of the whole, and we'll make final approval on Tuesday, October 8th at our council meeting at 5:30.
Okay, very good.
Thanks for taking the time and taking the trip up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks all.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Okay. I'll move to item 9, committee reports. The committee of the whole meeting that was held on September 17th, 2019. Britt can't be here. She has an appointment in Duluth, and there was a delay, so she's on her way back. So, Sherry, did you want to go through the committee report, or did you want me to do that? I'd leave that up to you. Okay, well, I guess we'll move forward with the committee report. I'll try to do the best I can to do Britt justice here. Item 9.1, Committee of the Whole, that was held on September 17th, 2019. On item 9.1.A, adopt the resolution to accept service order number 2 of the professional design services contract for the Virginia Miners Event and Convention Center, the MEC, with DSGW for schematic design, design development, construction documents, bidding and construction, and administrative services. The total cost of that is based on the total cost of the project, which is approximately 7.25% of the entire project. And we did discuss it at the committee of the whole meeting, and it was moved and supported there. What is the council's pleasure here?
I will so move that we accept the SGW's proposal for the MEC.
A moved by Councilor Baraboo to approve. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Counselor Freely. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.1B, approve the proposal by VEET for the temporary closure of the alley and sidewalks in certain areas of town close to where they're, for the demolition of the Northland building. And we discussed that at our committee home meeting, and all the concerns, and VEET reportedly allayed the concerns that we have and are moving forward, and it was moved and supported at committee to approve this at that level. What is the council's pleasure right now? Councilor Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm a little disappointed that the sidewalk's already closed and we haven't formally approved that. And there was concern brought to me by a business owner that they were told that the alley was going to be closed tomorrow by whoever was in the building doing some, they're doing some evaluations of the current status of the building so that if there's seismic activity that happens to cause damage, they can do that. I'm not comfortable at this point. I do know they have met, VITE has met with some of the officials, the police officials and fire officials, but there's still not a written plan in the hands of our business owners as to how do they dispose of their garbage, what happens when there's a fire, that kind of stuff. We really need to have, they have to be able to have something in hand that says, this is how you get your garbage to the end. The restaurants and the food establishments cannot take garbage through the service area. That's a health code violation, and I'm very concerned that this is being rushed through, and our business owners do not have the tools they need to make informed decisions about bakery, about deliveries, pickups, garbage, egress, those kinds of things. So I'm not going to support closing the alley until that we have a document in hand that has been given to the business owners to say this is how we're going to manage that.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. I think at the committee home meeting, that same question was addressed, and how are you going to do that? And I believe our city engineering office, Bill Hennis, had indicated that they were going to be working a plan with the business owners to accommodate the questions that you have. I haven't seen the plan, but he indicated that he was going to be doing that. And that was part of the impetus for moving forward with the approval of this plan. So we did talk about fire escape plan too, and how do you get out? You can't go out the back door. There's only one exit, and it's out the front door. Even if you have an upstairs, you're not going to be able to get out the fire escape, right? So you got to go out the front door. So I don't know what the fire evacuation plan is for that. The county should have one already with VEET about that, even though we don't know what that is. I don't know what the time frame is for beginning of the demolition. So if they've already closed the alley, the street, maybe we need to, take a look at expediting the questions that Councilor Johnson has to make sure that these business owners are notified and understanding what an evacuation plan is and how they facilitate the disposal of their garbage over this 6-week period in which this is going to be closed, right? Right? Okay, thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you. And everybody understands it needs to be closed for safety reasons for the demolition. But even the evaluation of the seismic activity has not been completed for all the businesses yet. I went in this afternoon before the meetings and checked in with a few of the businesses, and they had not had someone come in yet. So again, I'm very hesitant to trust the county at this point, especially with some of the other stuff, that they will have the information before Monday to the business owners. And I by all means, if they have the documents in hand on Friday, I think that's okay. But again, our businesses, if this has been a 2-year project, I would have thought there would have been plans in place 2 years ago about closing the alley and how are we going to facilitate the delivery of in a perfect storm, it's going to be a storm. You know, we're looking at 6 weeks ahead. There could be a blizzard, at which point the Domino's truck, the Asian food truck, the flour truck, the bakery truck are all parked on Main Street delivering at the same time. And there's no time for the corporate people to plan delivery schedules because the county has not provided that information, neither has the city, to say, hey, this is what's gonna be happening here, Domino's guys. You know, kind of drop this on them. We knew that the alley was going to need to be closed, but I would have thought there was a plan 2 years ago of how to close the alley and how to facilitate business. And 6 weeks can make it or break it, especially at this time of year. We're looking at a lot of time when people are shopping. There's activities downtown during hunting season that encourage downtown shopping. So I'm very concerned about having the information to the businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, and it does say in there, if you take a look at the proposal, okay, Counselor Paulson. ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. At our last committee meeting, I believe we had directed VEET, or, excuse me, I think it's VITE to work with our engineering department and come up with that plan. And does anyone know if they have worked with our engineering department on a plan? So, no, okay. I guess I'm equally as concerned. I'm a little bit more concerned. You know, the restaurants also have grease that they dump in the back with grease containers, so I'm sure that'll need to be addressed as well. But I'm really concerned about the delivery trucks going on Chestnut Street, and is there a plan for that?
Julianne, if I can answer that, I don't believe there is, but there's only one solution to that. With delivery trucks, the parking on that side of the street, the south side, is going to have to be vacated for that period of time, and the trucks are going to have to deliver on the parking. And we're going to probably have to take a look at our parking lot, ask our employees to park someplace else out of this lot here and the other lots, and go to the public lots that are further away. I don't know what other things you can do. The county may have to vacate some of theirs in their lot, the ones that they use for travel, to back up to the county and do some shuttle service. I don't know where that's actually been discussed yet at this point in time. I don't know how you're going to get deliveries, because you can't do it through the alley. It's going to be impossible.
And I know in the past, when the alley has been too congested with other vehicles, the Domino's delivery semi, I think it's wider than the Asian and the floral trucks. And so they have a harder time down that alley. But when they've done, they put the triangle cones out behind them, and it's about a 20-minute drop-off process. So I'm a little concerned, like you say, if they come all at once and it gets kind of stacked up, how that traffic is going to flow. And I guess I'm kind of surprised that a plan hasn't been put together and we're being asked to shut the alley down. And what you had said, Councilor Johnson, is that the sidewalk is currently closed, not the alley.
You cannot walk, Mayor, if I might.
Please do, Counselor
You cannot
Johnson.
walk from City Hall to the post office. That happened, I believe, Monday morning. So in order to get from City Hall to the east side, you have to either go down the alley behind City Hall or down the alley behind the new government services building. And with the closing of the alley and the sidewalk now, it's, again, there was implied that there was a plan in place, and if there is, none of us have seen it.
As long as we're discussing this, I guess I have maybe a suggestion. If parking is opened up in different lots for not only employees, but maybe some of the renters that live above the buildings, would it be possible for Arrowhead Transit to, like they're doing now currently with the running employees back and forth to the miners, the county employees, would that be something that we could do as a city to offer convenience for those that won't be able to park on that 300 block during this time?
I believe that Mr. Miller did address that at the last meeting, that he would accommodate whatever we need to do in order to facilitate the alleviation of traffic in that area. If I may?
Sure.
I think I concur that, you know, if we're concerned about what the plan is, and if we don't know what the plan is, and the business don't know what the plan is, even though there was some discussion that a plan was going to be developed, that's fine. So maybe I would suggest that we table this until we find what that plan is, get a written correspondence, and then we can always have a special meeting if we have to take a look and approve. But I think at this point in time, we don't have the answers. We've had some comments and some statements and some agreements that we'll work with, but we don't have the plan in place moving forward. So please continue, Councilor Paulson.
Mayor, I feel comfortable with going down that process of tabling.
Okay, well then, anything else, before we entertain a motion, would you have something else you'd like to offer, Councilor Bearable?
Just that we're only looking at a possible delay from Friday, when they said they'd have stuff to the business, till Tuesday, when we should know when we have our committee of the whole meeting in. So I have no problem tabling it till then, and we'll get a hold of county officials before that, get a hold of Commissioner Nelson and the rest, and just, if they need to be here, they need to be here on Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's possible there was a meeting, there's a possible that our city administrator might have some additional information that she was going to disseminate at this meeting, but we don't know that yet. So I think Sherry had a comment or some information. Sherry?
Council, I just emailed Britt while you were discussing this, and she said that she sent you a note from Chris Clark today. I didn't get a copy of that email. I don't know if you folks did. She said that's the only thing she knows is what she sent you folks
Okay.
from Chris Clark.
And what does it say?
I don't have that, so I wasn't privy to that.
The Dickens.
No.
I
Okay.
received it. I read it.
Okay, Councilor Paulson?
And I think it was just basically that our fire marshal has declared that a no-entry building if there was a fire to break out. So it's he's directing his staff as it's a no-entry building. If the building were, they would have something electrical happen or a fire would break out, that it is, he is designated at that.
Unless there's a life safety risk, they won't respond.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So that's what the email said.
Thank you. Councilor Freely?
They gave us a rather extensive plan and
I
put
read
together.
through it.
There is a paragraph in here for the pre-demolition meeting. It did state that prior to the start of demolition, a pre-demolition meeting will be held to analyze the project. VITE and other project personnel will attend the meeting to establish the responsibilities and review procedures for the project. All hazards will be pointed out, as well as the review of the site-specific demolition plan and procedures, which I think need to include all the stakeholders, including with business owners, and the plan for eliminating garbage and so on and so forth. So I'm assuming that meeting is yet to be held and certainly needs to be held, and we need to be apprised of when that's going to occur. And so I agree that we may want to table that for the time being until we know when that's being held and what the specifications of that meeting will be.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilor Freely. Councilor Johnson?
There's also an attachment of a aerial view of the area that has some arrows and some, it looks like there's going to be the need to block off 3rd Avenue between the alley and the old First Street. So I think, and I'll be quite honest, I'm not comfortable tabling the motion. I would be much more comfortable telling them, no, they cannot close the alley until we meet until they've met the paper plan request. Because my concern is we're going to get to work on Monday morning and there's going to be fences and semis down the alley. And at that point, they're going to say, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Just because of how other things in this process has progressed.
You want to make that motion?
I will make a motion that we inform the county we will not be closing the alley until we have a written plan for our business owners.
Okay, very good.
Open to other suggestions for
Sure.
that.
Okay, that's a motion on the floor by Councilor Johnson. Is there support?
Full support.
Support by Councilor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Johnson? Okay, seeing none. Counselor Bearable.
We need to have administration talk to our county commissioner and those individuals, Mr. Mancuso, and those individuals that are involved with it, or Mr. Miller. We just don't make this without communication to them,
Of course.
okay? Because that could get lost in the shuffle here, and then I know the reason why they're going to start demoing on the front end. They're going to cave the back end into the front end. That's what they're going to do. If you watch demolition.
Just give us the plan.
Yeah, but we need the plan. You're absolutely right. I agree with
Give us
Steve.
the plan. Okay, thank you, Counselor Bearable. Okay, is there any further discussion? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 9.1D, adopt the resolution increasing the parking ticket fees effective October 2019. The police department has that new citation system, and they've made some adjustments to the parking fine schedule. It was moved and supported at committee level to adopt the parking ticket adjustments.
Also move the new schedule and the new adopted methods for parking tickets.
Moved by Councilor Bearable. Is there support? Support by Councilor Barnzelli. Further discussion? Provided that make sure that when once this is approved, that we advertise in the paper, let everybody know through the website, Facebook page, whatever, that these fines are increased, so everybody's aware of the adjustments in the fines. Thank you. Any other further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9.1E. It was moved and supported at committee level to approve the request to purchase 6 sets of turnout gear for the fire department from Fire Safety USA in the amount of $19,871.70, and this is a budgeted item in the fire department budget. A move by Councilor Bearable and supported by Councilor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9.1F, approve the sale of surplus equipment for Fire Medic number 3 ambulance with a minimum bid of $3,000. And it was moved and supported at committee level to move forward with the approval of advertising this sale for a minimum bid of $3,000. Moved by Councilor Barnzelli.
Motion.
Is there support? Support by Councilor Friedlieb. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Barnzelli.
Mayor, the reason they're getting rid of this ambulance is that the engine was expired. The engine blew up. Didn't physically blow up, but I mean, the engine is shot. So rather than replacing the engine, they've decided this was the oldest rig, that they were going to sell it for salvage for scrap iron. And our new ambulance arrived last Monday
It did.
when we were there at the open house, so they're not short a rig. Thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you, Councilor Barnzelli, for that explanation. It's been moved and supported at committee level and moved and supported here. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.1G, designate 8th Street South from 12th Avenue westerly to railroad grade and 12th Avenue from 8th Street South to a point approximately 20 feet as no parking zones, and request staff to sign and paint curbing as appropriate. And for the public's edification, this is at the intersection of 12th Avenue South and 8th Street. We have an issue there with the new purchasers of St. Michael's. I think it's, what is it called? Waterview Pines or something like that. And so there's some significant issues with parking along the avenue and the traffic flow on 8th Street South. So it was moved and supported at committee level to notify the facility that we are going to be doing this and direct our staff to ensure that this is taken care of based upon the recommendations and the painting and the posting of the signs. Do I have a motion from the council?
We'll move the painting of the areas designated.
Okay, moved by Councilor Johnson to move forward to designate 8th Street South and the rest from There's no parking zones for signage and painting. Is there support?
I would support, just for quick further discussion.
Support by Counselor Freely, discussion.
I don't know that 20 feet from A Street heading north on 12th Avenue does it. I would suggest all the way to the entrance of their driveway into their parking lot, to be honest with you. Keep that whole intersection clear. They have a parking lot that should accommodate anybody and everybody that visits that facility, from what I perceive. And I don't think that 20 feet from the intersection actually is enough. I think we should extend it right to the entrance to their parking lot.
I think it was measured. I didn't think it was, I thought it was longer than 20 feet from there, from the intersection to the driveway entrance. But I think that was what was discussed at committee. We made sure that it went to the driveway entrance, so there's no parking on the street at all during that time where you have the through traffic on the right-hand side. So we should ensure that's happening.
I'm talking about the west side of 12th Avenue.
The west side of 12th Avenue, right? Okay.
I just don't think 20 feet from that stop sign is enough. I think we should extend it to where they would enter their parking lot, and all the rest of that is no parking in front of the building. That's just a suggestion. I just don't think 20 feet is enough.
Okay, yes, Counselor Johnson. Yeah, Counselor Johnson.
Counselor Baranzelli and I are sharing a microphone this evening, so. I thought we had discussed from the end, their service entrance, from the service entrance where that little turnaround is, where they have their deliveries to the corner. And also because of the new striping of the street, it is even more imperative that we get this fixed. And that was, I brought that to the city administrator today, and that is apparently because of the work we did on the state aid street. The rest of it had to be adjusted accordingly because we're used to having two lanes, and now it's 3 lanes or 2 lanes with a center turn. So that's made it even more confusing. But I think that if we need to extend that no parking, we can always come back and revisit that as we move forward on that, on the 12th Avenue section.
Okay, right, and I think we should give the authority of staff to do whatever they need to do to make sure that it accommodates a safe and secure area over there on 12th Avenue. I know there's and I also think maybe we should also, even before we do this work, because it might take them a few days to do that, just to notify Waterview Pines immediately that you can't park there, regardless of whether the signs are up there or posted. We already made that decision. The traffic control devices, the parking control devices are going to be going in place, and that the sooner they find an alternative way in which to alleviate the danger there, the better it is. So let's just give the latitude to our staff, in which if it has to go beyond 20 feet, it goes beyond 20 feet. So maybe we should really amend the motion to a point instead of well, it says approximately 20 feet, so it could be 26 feet, right? So we're good there?
No less than 20.
No less than 20.
That's a requirement by law.
Yeah, it's 20 feet from an intersection is the traffic statute, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the statute.
So it's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion?
I have
Councilor
one.
Bearable.
Yeah, we can't totally stop them from parking on 12th Avenue. There is a parking lane that's there, that's wide enough on the west side there, but we can move it back to at least where that turnaround goes in for their trucks and stuff, so the trucks and stuff, when they get in and out, can see also. So there's no obstruction when people make deliveries. But they should still be able to park from there down to their entrance if they so choose, because that's a public street. And the rest of it, they can park to the north if they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's not an issue, but the issue is the way this road got striped. Mr. Alto said that they're going to work on it. That striping is not right for that street, even though it's a state aid street. That's going to get changed, because that was designed for double rows of traffic coming down that street on both north and or east and west. So they're gonna be working on getting that fixed. As you notice, they're out there today taking out that middle line that they got all messed up and screwed up. They were stripping it off this afternoon. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that, because that was designed to have the 2 lanes going both east and west, both directions.
We have this part, oh, go ahead.
So I don't know what's going to happen with that with the state, because with the state aid, they came in and striped that without checking with us, number one, what we wanted to see on that. So,
I think there's some statutory requirements from the Department of Transportation and how wide the street is, depending upon what lanes they have and all that kind of stuff, and I'm sure they're working that out. But for me, I think parking on 12th Avenue, whether you park on the west, east or west side, this is a emergency route in the city. That's why it's wide enough for that. I guess in the summertime, I don't have a problem with it, but there should be no parking on those streets in the wintertime. Just on 4th Street South, or on 4th Street, or where the new facilities are, this dentist office and those kind of things, because they're having a difficult time plowing, and they expressed that concern over and over again last year, that we shouldn't allow that parking, and at least in the wintertime. So, but right now, the issue is the parking, the striping, and the stop sign issue,
that's the whole issue.
right? So we have that moved and supported, and is there any further discussion on that particular issue? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? I'm sorry, Counselor, I'm sorry. I didn't see your light on there. No, go ahead.
I have a quick question of clarification. If you're traveling south on 12th, like you're coming from Mesaba Community College and you're heading toward the nursing home, and you get to the 8th and 12th, is that a right-hand, is there an actual arrow that's a lane, a right-hand turn lane? No.
No, on 8th Street it is, but they haven't painted it on 12th Avenue on the side of Waterview Pines.
So, but currently, people are parking there or not parking there? I'm not sure. I haven't driven.
They are parking there.
They are. So when you were saying from the driveway, am I reading that right?
Well, the parking lot for that facility would easily accommodate all employees and visitors without anybody having to park along 12th Avenue. That's the reality. Short of like maybe holiday parties or something like that. Even in that, take a drive through there, it's a large parking lot. And the cars that are all on 8th Street and on 12th Avenue would be easily accommodated in that. And my concern is with that service entrance, if you only have that 20 feet, then trucks are gonna creep out and have to see past that line of traffic as they creep out there, if you have them back further to where they enter their parking lot. The intent would be to get them to park in their parking lot. I don't understand why they don't. But
Well,
in any event,
it's a matter of convenience, I think, for entering in and out of the facility itself. It's shorter distance to get in and out of there, so.
but that's not a safety feature for the sake of the city, obviously, so.
No, it's not. Counselor Paulson?
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm then that, are we also including 12th, that from their driveway on 12th, coming onto 12th, to the stop sign on 8th, or is that also going to be no parking? Because I feel like if people are parking there, it's going to impede traffic from being able to get and make a right-hand turn.
And the goal and the objective is to have clear view of the entire intersection without any interference on the part of parking vehicles.
Was that part of the motion? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but that's all included in that, yeah. Right, so, okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries, thank you. Okay, 9.1H, it was moved and supported at committee level to authorize the city to enter into an agreement with St. Louis County for maintenance striping for the 2020 year in the amount of not to exceed $8,200. And we didn't partner with them last year, but we did partner with the year before, and so do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion to contract with the county.
Moved by Councilor Barnzelli and supported by Councilor Johnson to move forward with the agreement with the county not to exceed $8,200 for maintenance striping in 2020. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. Item 9.1I, Moved and supported at committee level to designate the zoning of the Finntown Flyway addition as B1 zoning in accordance with the comprehensive plan.
That's not right, Mayor. It should be B2.
Counselor Bearable.
Should be B2, not B1, because B1 is total commercial. B2, it gives you the option that you can have other stuff there besides business, and we talked about that. So
I
it should be
remember,
B2.
you are correct. I remember we did pass it at committee level was to designate B2. So let's amend that minutes, if you would, please, Pam, to designate the zoning of the Finntown Flyway addition as B2, zoning in accordance with the comprehensive plan. Thank you. It's moved by Councilor, is there a motion? Motion by Councilor Bearable to approve the designation as B2. Is there support?
I would support, but just quick discussion. I thought we
Further
agreed.
discussion by support.
Yeah, thank you. I thought we agreed that it was going to be the historical Finntown Flyaway, just for designation purposes. And I would add that to how we refer to that area of town.
Sure, we'll designate the zoning of the historic Finntown Flyway addition as B2. That way you amend your motion for that, Councilor Bearable? Okay, and of course, the support by Councilor Freely. With that amendment, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed. Motion carries. 9.1J, moved at committee level to receive and file the notice of private, non-public sale of St. Louis County tax property, parcel code number 090-0060-03850, which is formerly known as 536 12th Street North. My understanding, this is an empty lot. So is there a motion that was moved and supported to receive and file at the committee level?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Freely. Is there support? Support by Councilor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On item 9.1K, was originally moved and supported at committee level to set a committee of the whole meeting to review the language of the affiliation agreement with the Essentia and to invite Essentia to said meeting. During the course of that last meeting we had, there's a proposal that may be coming forward from Essentia regarding some action that was taken at that meeting, and when that information comes forward, I will be able to review that for proposal. Is that correct, Tom?
It is. We did have a meeting with Essentia, and I think what we need to do is the council needs once again to sit down and talk about what we talked about. And in a closed session, getting Essentia there, they did change. They did talk about some other things that I thought was kind of good, really. And so we should probably talk about that, and then hopefully get them there. They have a new CEO, and she seemed quite receptive to some things that we were looking at, which is good. And so I think we're waiting for them to come back with an official proposal. One of the problems with Essentia is that they don't have a meeting till November. So we kind of have to get that group here before then. Otherwise, we'll be screwing around with this for the next 2 months. Councilor Bearable, I can see you're light on.
Since I was at that meeting, they have to go through, they have layers of processes. They got to go to the local board, they got to go to their Eastern Regional Board, then they got to go to their final board. They're going to all meet within a time frame here up until, I think, the end of October into early November, and then they're going to come back. They promised to come back and inform everybody what their decision-making process is. And Tom is right, it's good.
So
good.
hopefully it's going to happen. So we'll keep the council informed of that. I do think, though, that maybe if some councilors want to sit down and talk to me about it, you have my number, and we can sit down and talk anytime. And just to talk about what would be, what I know about it, and, because most of the councilors haven't been involved in this, and so you're kind of thrown into this. And it's like a real serious issue for the city. You know, I mean, it really is. I mean, this is one serious issue. I mean, it's our healthcare. So we need to make sure we do the right thing. So at this point, we'll just wait for their response. Right?
Yep, sounds good. Yep, thank you. Counselor Freely?
Do we, if this is a time to talk about that, but do we foresee the city to continue to be the owner of that property?
That is really the question that is the question.
Okay. All right.
That is the question. That's the question we're having them bring back to their board.
And over the history of the hospital in Virginia, has it always been owned by the city of Virginia?
Yes.
Don't know that or not?
Yes.
It has been.
From 1933, I think, when the hospital was, it was founded as a charitable hospital in 1933, and the hospital's been owned by the city, organized under the charitable hospital statute. So one of the problems for us is that because it's a charitable hospital, proceeds from that hospital are limited as to what we can do with it, because we've gotten a tax break on that for the last 75 years. So it's a charitable hospital. That's how the whole thing started, so.
And at the time, historically, did we have like oversight or administrative oversight with regard to personnel and operations, or not necessarily? Did we contract that out always, or were we?
Everybody was a
intimately
city employee. They were all city employees.
involved? Oh, okay.
They were, and that's what was very difficult. They were all city employees, and then when we went to the lease, they were converted to Essentia employees. So it was fairly difficult because we had pension issues. We had, when does, some people had been there longer, some people there less time. So it was fairly tricky in
And
terms of.
we've essentially transitioned into being landlords at this point.
Yeah, that's all we are, building landlords, property landlords. They're Essentia employees now. Some employees I've talked to are very happy with that transition because they were para employees, and so they ended up getting their para benefit, but then they worked for Essentia for another 5, 6, 7 years, and Essentia had a 401k plan. So it worked out good for some people, not as well, depending on how long you worked there, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anything else before we move to the next? Counselor Paulson?
Mayor, I have one question for Tom. So the proposal that we just submitted as a body to them, what you're recommending is for us to just wait until they come back and have the ability to come here and talk with us in a closed session?
Right, because I think what, the proposal wasn't rejected at all. It was merely, the question was, what are we going to do with the ownership of the hospital going forward? I mean, really, that's really the question here. And, they want to put that before their board. And because we, as we said for how long, we changed our charter in order to allow us to do that. So we were definitely amenable to looking at that. I mean, I get the feeling from the council that we don't necessarily want to be landlords up there. And so that's the question for them. And then, we have our own issues to deal with in terms of guarantees, and are we going to have health care here? Are they going to do, those things all are part of the agreement. So that's kind of where it all went, okay? So
I think that's good news. I mean, I think that it sounds positive.
I think so,
Right. So my question then is regarding because as of January 1st, we will no longer be getting those lease payments.
Well, we have to, as if Britt was here, she says, we have to have something January 1st if we don't have the big picture resolved.
Right.
In order to take care of the depreciation that we're required to register on our books every 3 months or months or whatever. We have to have something in terms of money, because I got this feeling that it will be very difficult to make that transition to them totally by the end of the year. I think it will be. We did find an Alta survey that we had, on that property. So that saves us a little bit of time, just so they can look at that, just to see what's there, how much is there and all that. So, but you are right. We got to do something with that by the end of the year.
But were they amenable to paying something?
I believe so.
January? Okay.
Yeah.
So just that it's progressing, I think, and I
Yes.
really appreciate you giving us that
Yeah.
update. Thank you.
And we sent them a payment option.
Yeah, we sent them a payment option, but we need to nail that down. But I think long-term, as Councilor Friedlieb has said, I think we want to not be landlords anymore. I think that's kind of what we're looking at, right?
Very good.
I think, Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes, Councilor Bearable.
I think Tom has opened the door. If anybody here wants to talk to Tom one-on-one, it's not a violation of open meeting laws. You can certainly do it, and he can fill you in a little bit more.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, because there is more to the story than he's putting out.
Well,
there.
I think that, a lot of the counselors just don't know that, you and I talking now, the basics of, what we had in the hospital, you don't know that unless somebody works there, but, anyhow, we will keep you updated.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anything else on that?
No, I think we're.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to item 9.1L, set a public hearing for the proposed tax abatement parcel ID 090-0180-00308, which is a vacant land on 4th Street North for economic development. It was moved and supported to set this proposed tax abatement hearing for October the 8th, 2019 at 5 p.m. And this is regarding the tax abatement for the parcel that's being considered for economic development by SBB Incorporated. And then for those who are listening in the audience, that's on 4th Street between Range Family Dental and the credit union right across the street from the two union halls and the Harvest, Natural Harvest. So right, that whole empty space there, the rest of part of that Ewan's Field.
Also move the public abatement hearing for the parcel that is listed.
Moved by Councilor Bearable. Is there support?
Support for discussion.
Support by Councilor Paulson for discussion. Further discussion, Councilor Paulson.
Mayor, at that public hearing that's set, well, first of all, will the committee of a whole be briefed on that at all, or will it just all be at the public hearing?
Well, I think we'll have an explanation at the next committee of the whole meeting on what that's all about. We'll be able to review the tax abatement policy and what they're asking for before that meeting.
And the parties that are asking for this, they'll be in attendance and maybe explain how the changes have happened?
It's my understanding that our city administrator, Britt Seebens, indicated that we'll make sure that all parties are on the table to present what they need to do before we have this tax abatement hearing, and we'll be inviting them to the next committee of the whole meeting in order to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row. We all understand what's going on before we have that public hearing on October the 8th.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Councilor Johnson? Oh, okay, everything? Okay, excellent. Councilor Bearable?
One thing we all need to remember as council members, tax abatement doesn't mean that we give them everything that's available for taxes. We can do whatever we want. We can give a percentage, we can give a certain amount. It doesn't have to be the whole kit, kat, and caboodle of what they would be taxed. So that's one thing to remember as you listen to these hearings on tax abatement.
Yeah, I think they're ready to pull the trigger. They have some grants that they've acquired and have to spend by a certain period of time, and part of that process is they're going to be moving forward requesting this tax abatement. So the hearing was set far enough in advance for us to be able to meet with them and confer and get the information we need moving forward.
And we did put a limitation, if you remember, as a council, as the end of the year for them to come up with some proposal for that property. If you remember, we did that quite a while ago. So they have to get it moving and get it done before the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. So it's been moved and supported to set that public hearing for October 8th, 2019 at 5 p.m. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you. And finally, item 9.1M was moved and supported at committee level to invite Northeast Service Co-op to attend a city council meeting to discuss the increase for the 2020 health insurance premiums. And so, looking for a motion to invite them to the next city council meeting, or as a suggestion. So what is the council's pleasure? Councilor Johnson?
We'll make a motion that we invite Northeast Service Cooperative to a city council, preferably soon, to explain the health insurance increases this year.
Which will be on Tuesday, October 8th at 5:30
Hope so.
p.m. We hope so too. So we'll make that invitation. It's been moved by Councilor Johnson and supported
I'll support, could it not be at a committee of the whole,
by Councilor Freely.
the first?
Well, it could be at the committee of the whole. We
right.
live stream it, but it's televised on cable on October the 8th. So
I guess the reason is because for the last multiple years, we have had a double-digit increase from them, and now miraculously that the pool is smaller, all of a sudden it's a 2.2% increase, and I think our citizens need to know why that change happened. I think it's we should know, our citizens should know why, when half the city has gone to a different insurance carrier, or in different insurance broker, same insurance carrier, that 10% of the annual increases have vanished, and why that could not have happened previous 4 or 5 years. So I think that's why I said a city council meeting, because I'd like to have them here in the evening when maybe some of our employees who would be working during the 9 o'clock meeting could come to an evening meeting and have their questions answered also.
okay, thank you. So moved and supported to invite Northeast Co-op to the October 8th council meeting. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you. That concludes the committee report. We'll move on to the next committee report. There was a special personnel committee of the whole meeting that was held today, Tuesday, September 24th at 9 a.m. in the council chambers here at City Hall. There were items on the agenda related to personnel issues that were discussed as a council as a whole. Library Director Nancy Maxwell discussed the request for a permanent part-time staff member to fill in at the library. The person would be able to fill in during lunch breaks, vacations, or if somebody is ill. There are 2 positions that were not filled, one part-time and one full-time. Currently, there are 8 employees at the library, including the library director and the maintenance individual. The library is open between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. They have staggered work hours starting at 7 and one at 8 and then at 9 o'clock. So this request by the library director was for a permanent temporary employee to work approximately 20 hours per week to help out and fill in as needed. So after some significant discussion, it was moved and supported at committee level to begin to allow staff to begin the hiring process for the position at the library, which is a permanent temporary position. Temporary position, right? A permanent temporary position. Permanent part-time position, that's correct. Okay, all right, Councilor Bearable, go ahead.
Councilor Johnson was first.
As I made the motion, it was just to begin the hiring process because much of our discussion is a permanent part-time person adequate, or do we need something else? So we would like more information from the library based on what their usage is, what their hour usage is. So it was just to begin the process in general without filling a specific space.
Well, that is correct, and I misread that. I added that in there. And so really what the motion says, which is accurately reflected in the minutes by our city
Yes.
clerk, is moved by Counselor Johnson, supported by Counselor Bionis, to begin the hiring process for the position at the library.
Yes.
So I'm looking for that same motion
That is
at
the
the
motion I
council
will
meeting.
make.
Okay, motion by Counselor Johnson. Is there support? Support by Counselor Freely. Is there any further discussion? And hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The City Council will discuss the renewal of the lobbyist contract, which expires on September 30th, 2019. There was some significant discussion regarding our priority for the public safety building being our only bonding priority for 2020. And after significant discussion and bantering about, it was moved and supported at It was moved and supported by Councilor Barnzelli. It was moved by Councilor Barnzelli, supported by Councilor Freedom, to hire Jarek and Associates as the city lobbyist for 2019-2020, and to provide the city council with periodic updates in progress at the legislature. That motion failed. Second motion was made. It was moved by Councilor Johnson and supported by Councilor Paulson to request staff to create an RFP for a lobbyist specific to the public safety building and present to the council at a future committee of the whole meeting. It was moved and supported at committee level to approve that.
We'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilor Johnson to request staff to create an RFP for a lobbyist specific to the public safety building and present it to the council at a future committee of the whole meeting. Is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Bearable.
Yeah, I'm going to not support this motion for the reason that we've already indicated by sending our priority to the State House Bonding Chair, Mary Murphy, on this public safety building with auspice that we had Jarek and Associates continue the process they were working on last year for this, and we already did that. So I can't see sticking another wheel in the middle of this continuation, because it's going to, I'm going to say it's going to muck up the works with our bonding request in the 2020 legislative session. You can't change people in midstream when you've been working on it for 2 years. So that's my philosophy, so I won't be supporting this motion.
And I supported the motion for Mr. Jarek, so I won't be supporting this second motion, but it did pass on a 4-3 vote at committee of the whole meeting. So it's been moved and supported at this council meeting to move forward with the RFP for the lobbyist specific to the public safety building and present it to the council at a future meeting, committee of the whole meeting. Further discussion, Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. This motion does not eliminate Jarek and Associates from presenting a proposal. One of our concerns, as we discussed at the meeting this morning at length, was the lack of communication from Jarek and Associates, even though their contract specifically states regularly reports to the city and the city administrator. Nobody was able to find in their emails reports from Jarek and Associates for the last 3 or 4 years, however long they've been with us, about what they have been doing and what they have done down at the Capitol. If they came forward and presented and they were the top, our proposal, I have no problem with them moving forward with this. But as a council, we decided in the springtime that the Public Safety Center was going to absolutely be our priority. And in order for us to do that, we need to have somebody down there who has those connections. And it was discussed at length that Jarek and Associate has done all this work and they have all these connections and they can get people in, and I don't doubt that, but there are also other people who know public safety specifically, who know who know public safety centers and have lobbied for that. So this somehow, this is not an anti-Jarek and Associates campaign. This is a what's best for the city, in my point of view, as we move forward for the Public Safety Center. And I will say again, if we call for RFPs, we're just asking questions. That's our job. We have to be fiscally responsible. And if they come forward and they can present that, hey, we are the best people for this job, I will absolutely accept and pay them the $36,000 a year to lobby for us. But based on the production, and yes, there was talked about that they got this and they got that, but there's nothing from them as a company for reports for 3 years that I have seen. And that is my problem, is that we are spending $36,000 of taxpayer money without physical, tangible reports from the people we are employing. And that's where my challenge is. That's why I'd like to see us ask, who else can do this? Can Ron Jarrett do it? If he can, perfect. Then let's see the documentation and what his plan is moving forward. Otherwise, at this point, we don't have a lobbyist at all. And that's a savings to the city of $36,000. That may hurt us, yes, as we move forward in the bonding session. But that would be the decision of the council now, to just say, we're not gonna have one at all by not taking RFPs. And maybe after the RFPs, we don't have one either. Maybe there's nobody that can do this, what we want. But that's where I stand, and that's why I made the motion to ask for proposals.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. And not to belabor the discussion and regurgitate everything that transpired, there was there's been some communication issues, that's true. And I must say that the information, because I have a close working relationship with the lobbyist, because I needed to do that down in the legislature, meeting all these people, and he would give me the information. He called Brett, he called me. I try to give you the updates at the city council meetings as we do. Apparently that wasn't enough information, that you want to hear it from him personally and his staff, which is fine. So now we have a motion on the floor to move forward with these RFPs. So is there any further discussion with that? Councilor Friedlieb.
And I don't want to rehash everything we discussed, but we may have to. And I don't deny or disagree with your logic here, Steve, at all. But when you have lobbyists that have been working for a city for several years, and there is a communications network that's been established, and particularly with local legislators that they have been involved with over the years, and the results have spoken for themselves with Jarrett and Associates acquiring us upwards of $12 million for the miners project, assisting us in the $5.4 million for the bridge, assisting us in the state sales tax 1% that we were seeking. Even though they didn't give us ongoing reports and information through the process and progress of that, the results kind of spoke for themselves. And I don't know that we're going to be untying those binds that we have with Jarrett and Associates by going the route that you're suggesting, but I do have some concerns about that, because lobbying isn't something that can be untied and unwound. It's an ongoing, continuous process, as I understand it to be. And I think to re-up this contract with Jarrett and Associates to continue that networking communications connection, I think is viable and valuable to the city. So I don't know that I can support, even though you provide logic to me in how you're suggesting this, I don't know that I support that. I would rather see us as a city continue with what we have in place, because in my estimation, the results have been shown that they are valuable to us as a city. So that's where I stand at this point.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Friedlieb. So moved and supported. Once again, read the motion. Moved by Councilor Johnson and supported by Councilor Paulson. To request, was that the correct? I'm sorry. Who made the motion? Councilor Johnson made the motion, supported by Councilor Beyondich. Okay, yes. To request staff to create RFPs for lobbyists specific to the public safety building and present to the council at a future meeting, committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Bearable.
Okay, and I'm going to put this in dollars and cents signs, okay? Jarrett and Associates have helped us over the last couple of years with at least almost $20 million worth of projects that we've gotten. $12 million for the Miners Memorial Complex, or the MEC, that they helped us get with their lobbying efforts, $5.4 million in a bridge money that we lost, they helped us with that, and a couple more projects. If you round it out and do the math, it's 0.36% dollars of those total projects that we paid them over 2 years. And I think that's well worth the money that we've spent on this lobbying. I'm not going to say any more. I'm just, I think this council is making a mistake by asking them to resubmit information showing that they know how to do lobby work. Those are two different types of projects that they proved to the city that they had expertise in, and every lobbyist will tell you that they will do one project, they won't go and do another project of the same magnitude for the same type of entity for another city or another entity. So Jarrett and Associates wouldn't go out for this public safety and pick up another public safety project. And most lobbyists will not do that. They won't lobby for the same thing for other communities because they're breaking their own rules and their own way of getting business from communities and townships and et cetera. So they will not do that. That's my last word on this, but I'm voting no on this motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Beyondich first, and then over to Councillor Paulson. Councillor Beyondich.
After all this discussion and having other people come in, I don't see there being an issue with Jarrett and Associates to come in and speak also. Competition is good. And yes, they have done a lot for our city, but I don't doubt that any other lobbyist out there would be willing to do the same for our city. So I really don't have a problem involving more people.
Thank you, Councillor Beyondich. Councillor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I feel like we're kind of missing one bit of information, and I wish that Chief Lewis were here, because I feel like part of this discussion includes why Chief Lewis thought that it would be, I don't know if he thought, but he made mention that there are specific lobbyists for public safety buildings, and that he did know and have some of those connections. So part of my decision-making process is also relying on the professional staff that we have hired to help us in order to, I guess, follow directions that will benefit for our public safety building. And, you know, they're having the shared fire services discussion right now. There's a lot of different discussion happening. And I feel like we should have probably brought Chief Lewis in to get his opinion, but from where I sit, I feel like what he shared it's relevant, and that's why I feel it's appropriate to go out for additional RFPs. Jarrett and Associates is welcome to, you know, put their application in for review, but I feel like if this project, if we need one person down in Minneapolis to have Mary change her view, there may be somebody else different or better out there, and I feel like it doesn't hurt anything to explore that option.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just have one quick word, and then we'll vote on this thing. I did have a lengthy discussion with Chief Lewis about that this afternoon after the meeting. So there's some differences of perception on this issue. So, but it's been moved and supported at committee level to go out for RFPs. I'll reread the motion one more time. Moved by Councillor Johnson, supported by Councillor Beyondich, to request staff to create an RFP for a lobbyist specific to the public safety building and present to the council the RFP at a further committee of the whole meeting. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Freely.
I'm
Yep.
sorry. Should we, let's say this fails, we're at a stalemate here, then what are we going to do? That's what I'm concerned about. And
We have time. We're back to square one, but we have time to revisit.
okay, and you know, we were trying to convince the chairman of the committee down in Hermantown
Yes, Representative Mary Murphy, the House bonding chair.
And I don't know what kinds of communications have been ongoing with her, whether it was through Jarek and Associates or whether it's through Chief Lewis, but I can give a firsthand account. I was there the other night when the House of Representatives came for their tour. We put on our helmets. We went down the basement. Chief Lewis and Chris Clark were phenomenal in their presentation. And I heard from the mouth of Representative Murphy, "I'm a believer. I'm a believer," she said at least twice as she was then leaving the basement hurriedly because she did no longer want to be down there. So we're kind of at that point already with the networking communications we've got already in place, convincing that person of what we need from her and her committee. That's why I'm concerned about that. I had firsthand knowledge and heard it with my own ears. So that's why I'm so concerned about where we're at with this, and particularly if that communications has been tied to our existent lobbyists that we've had in place. So I'm a little concerned that that disconnect could occur, and if it does, that would be tragic, in my opinion. So I don't know if it would be timely for us to secure maybe further information from Chief Lewis maybe as to where he's at with this, because it's critical to his staff and his project. I'm concerned that where we're at in this point in time, that we're gonna disconnect things that are already moving in a direction that we desperately needed them to go. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, and I can just clarify, not to continue to belabor this because we had significant discussion about it and there's a motion on the floor, but to answer your question regarding whether or not our current lobbyist that's on our record has had communications with Mary Murphy, I can tell you that they have. Him and the two staff members have met with her on a regular basis. I met with her. We met together with Chief Lewis about this. And she's convinced that there's a need. She's seen all, we provided her a packet of information. And not only did Ron and Mike and Valerie Jarrett go through that with her, I went through it with her, Chief Lewis went through with her. We had a meeting at her office about that. And so I think that if you're asking if the connection has been made, if they have a connection in that regard, they do. They have met, not only with Mary Murphy, but many others. So they are intricately involved moving forward with the public safety building. They've been working on this for the last year or so. So that answers your question in that regard. So hopefully it does. So Councilor Johnson, do you have your light on? No? Okay. So it's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Baraboo.
This is what all of you have been through as you've gone to these meetings, that you've gone to League of Minnesota City orientation and everything. This is what is called the important and extra important comment called networking. And they have networked Jarek and Associates with Mary Murphy, her office, and with us. Granted, we haven't gotten some reports, but those can be all done and sent to us. And networking is so important. If you guys don't understand, you haven't been around long enough in politics, some of you, to understand how important networking is. And I'm not trying to tell you that you need to find that out on your own, but you need to find it out on your own, how important network is. And I'm going to specifically, I've been around for 26 years on this council, and you got to have the networking to get things accomplished at state level, at county level, and within the city. So I'm very disappointed that you're going out and making Jarek and Associates feel like idiots that they got to come back and reapply for a position that we've already sent them information to work on for this public safety, which we did. And you guys all approved that. So enough said, I'm not going to say another word about this. You guys can do what you want and live with the consequences.
Thank you, Councilor Baraboo. Now it's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion before we vote?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Johnson.
I would like to remain professional. I do have networking. I have been to the state capitol. I have talked to people.
Tell us
I have done that.
Tell us who.
Go ahead. Please continue, Councilor Johnson.
I was elected by the citizens of this city to represent everybody, and I'm doing my best. and I am only asking for information. It bothers me greatly that a professional has not lived up to their contract with providing information to the city of Virginia, which is this council, 7 people sitting around. And we were very specific about that a year ago, September 11th, 2018, when we asked to have regular updates from Jarek and Associates. Didn't matter if it was in person or via email. That is where I'm stuck. If we got $5.4 million, where is the information from Jarek saying we got that? There's not one email from them saying we got that. All of the information provided about the money for the bridge and for the miners came through the League of Minnesota Cities via Brit. Every single one of those emails came from their lobbyist, not from Jarek and Associates. If they have been instrumental in getting this money, I would like to see those documents. I would like to see that information, firsthand knowledge, because there should be communications with the city administrator saying, this is what we did today, or this is what we did in the last quarter, or this is what we did in the last 6 months. That is where I am stuck on this. It has nothing to do with my personal relationships with Dave Liz-Lagarde or Mary Murphy or anybody else. Every one of those lobbyists down there has those connections, or they wouldn't be lobbyists.
Not.
Please
So,
continue.
I don't think it's wrong to ask somebody to provide information. $36,000, as we discussed earlier, is part of the money the library needs to hire another employee. If we can shift $36,000 to the library to get them a full-time staff, I'm all about that. So I do not like being lectured in this chamber about how I'm behaving. I am doing my best as an elected official. I appreciate and respect your experience and your opinion. I ask that you do the same for me. Thank you.
Just to clarify here, we're talking about an issue. I know this is an emotional one. It becomes interpersonal a little bit because we're all passionate about what we think, right? And so the periodic updates, it maybe didn't come in the formative email. They came to Britt, they came to me, regular contacts. And at regular council meetings, committee of the whole meetings, I gave significant updates on where Ron Jarek is at, who he's met with, how we're moving forward with that. So the communications came from Ron Jarek through me to the council. Now, maybe you're looking for something with more writing, more emails directly to you or directly to the council. That's understandable. I can understand that. So, but this is an issue that we're all trying to foster a obligation to our citizens to make sure that we are successful moving forward in the bonding session. Some of us believe that we need to go another direction, and some of us believe that we should maintain moving forward based upon past experience and performance. So, I mean, we're going to vote on this one way or the other. So that's where we're at right now. I know everybody's been passionate about it, rightfully so, because we all have our opinions, right? So we have an opportunity here to make the vote, and we are going to make that vote right now, unless there's any other further discussion.
I just have one other discussion.
Councilor Baraboo.
I'm not going to pick on anybody here, but the communications came from other areas also, from our legislators. If you read their newsletters and everything, they informed us and through their newsletters and everything else, and personal phone calls, that these things were successful. The money for the MEC, the money for the bridge, it didn't just come from the League of Minnesota Cities. Just want you to be aware that I got personal phone calls, and I also read their newsletter. If you read their newsletter, you'll find that they voted for this, they did this for us, they all did this. So it takes a whole conglomerate of individuals down there, and the only reason I'm supporting so much Jarek and Associates, they have those connections with our delegation up here. So enough said.
Okay, moved and supported. I'll read it one more time, and then we'll take a vote, hopefully. Okay, was moved by Councilor Johnson and supported by Councilor Beyondich to request staff to create an RFP for a lobbyist specific to the public safety building and present to the council at a future council meeting of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? No. Motion, roll call, please.
Johnson.
Yes.
Aaron
No.
Duffy.
No.
Caribou. Friedli. Paulson.
Yes.
Yondich.
Motion fails. Motion passes. Failed, 4-3.
Failed, sorry.
Motion fails, 4-3. Okay, so, all right, that takes care of that. Back to the drawing board. Okay, next item is Brian Silber, our Park and Recs Director, discussed the professional service agreement with the golf course professional, who is now currently Steve Fingerroos. The contract is scheduled to expire on October 31st of 2019, and Park and Director Silber noted that there are 3 options for the council to decide. One is to proceed with the contract for a professional services agreement, in other words, negotiate a new contract, operate the golf course with city staff, or completely do away with the golf course. So we asked our Park and Rec Director his recommendation, and Brian Silber recommended moving forward with negotiations with a contract with Steve Fingerroos to continue to manage the Virginia golf course, and he also suggested to add a clause based on profit sharing, which will maybe give them more incentive in the event that the golf course starts operating in the black. So it was moved and supported at committee level to negotiate a professional service agreement with the current golf course professional based on the recommendation of our Park and Recs Director, Mr. Brian Silber. What is the council's preference at this council meeting today?
We'll move to renegotiate the professional service contract with the current golf professional based on the recommendation from city staff.
A move by Councilor Johnson to approve to
I'll support.
negotiate, supported by Councilor Baraboo. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda was our City Administrator Britt C. Bennis reviewed the city hiring policy regarding hiring of department heads. The interview committee would include the city administrator, the HR director, the personnel chair, or 2 counselors, and suggested clarification. So Councilor Baraboo suggested having 1 member of the personnel committee, the HR director, and the city administrator in the final interview before the full council. Council Paulson would like more information as to how many people have applied for available positions in the city and to update the council prior to interviewing. Further discussion continued on the policy and reviewed suggested changes based on how to score candidates. City Administrator Britt C. Bennis will make the suggested changes and present these changes to the hiring policy to our next committee home meeting for discussion. There was no motion there, so move forward with that. Thank you. Finance Director, HR Director Sherry Erickson gave an update on the Public Works Director position. This would be a MAPE position. 5 people, was it 6 people applied for the director position? Is that correct, Sherry? 6 people applied for the position. Sherry informed the council of what the requirements were in the job description. 1 candidate filled the requirements for the position and was interviewed by the council with a series of questions. So after that interview, which was conducted today, it was moved and supported at committee level to approve the hiring of Ed Alto as our Public Works Director and to include a position with the MAPE union. That was moved and supported at committee level. Councilor Barnzelli.
I'll make that motion, Mayor, to appoint Ed Alto as our Park and Rec Director. Thank you.
Moved by Councilor Barnzelli to approve to hire Ed Alto as our Public Works Director. Is there support? Support by Councilor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Congratulations to Ed Alto. Well deserved. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, that was all that was discussed. The meeting was adjourned at 12:11 PM. Okay. Now we'll move to item 10, Commission Liaison Department Head Reports. Does any city councilor have a report they'd like to present to the council this evening? We'll move to our left. First of all, Councilor Bearable. Councilor Bearable.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and fellow councilors. The Public Utilities Commission met last night at 3:30, and I was there as liaison from the council. I'm only going to give the real big highlights because there was not much business last night. The first item that they discussed was the conversion from the coal boiler that they're using right now that's producing 60,000 pounds of steam power. They're going to go back to the wood boiler, but they had a mechanical issue when they went to start up, so they had to order a new variable. It's some type of control mechanism for keeping track of the oxygen and everything else that goes through that wood boiler. So it's temporary on hold, but that'll be the next step. We'll be going to the wood boiler coming up here. They have had, whoa, what happened there? They had, somebody else got theirs on? Maybe that's what it is. They have had over 400 plus individuals that have applied through this conversion for the loan program through the utilities, and it's going to get more and more, they predict, before it is finished. But it's going very, very well. They're ahead of schedule on the conversions that are going on throughout the community. I also reported that they passed the resolution that helps, and I report on that at the public, not the public hearing, when Amoresco was here, that they're going to be putting some money through in the resolution. I'll come back to see. I don't know whether Britt's received that yet, because they just did it last night, so I don't believe she has, but that is part of it for the energy conversion throughout the city to LED and everything else. It'll save this community dollars. And with that, those were the highlights from the meeting last night. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bearable. Councilor Freely.
So real quick, kudos and shout out to Brittany and Luke Chop, Don and Joanne Sipola, and Brian and Lauren Silber, and the other volunteers that got together to clean up the whole beach area at Silver Lake in preparation for the Lumberjack show that's going to be held at the lake this Saturday. So they did a nice job, and they've done a nice job on that all year long, for that matter. So thank you to them for doing that for us.
Yes, thank you very much, Councilor Freely. Anybody else have something? Councilor Barnzelli.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you stole my
Under.
trophy. We're having a first annual Lumberjack show, September 28th, over there at Silver Lake Beach. The first event will be 1 p.m., and the second event will be 3 p.m., and it's free admission. So we're hoping that this looks like it ought to be fun. I don't know, September 28th, it's pretty cold. But hoping that this will take off and we'll have an annual function here in our city using our beach. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to our Park and Rec Director. He's really got some good ideas moving forward and putting together packages to make our summer and winter a better place, more opportunities for kids and recreation. So he's been very proactive in that regard. And, shout out and thank you to Brian Silber and his staff for all the hard work they've done this year. I have a couple of things. First of all, the Olympic curling coach, Phil the Thrill Drobnik, who is a local probation officer here in St. Louis County. They're having a big golf extravaganza at the Virginia Golf Course this Saturday. It's called the Drobnik Open. Everybody's welcome to come and play. It's I can't remember what it's cost, but it's pretty reasonable. It's got a lot of good yachts, a lot of fun, and utilizing the Virginia Golf Course for this event. So I'm going to make an announcement to that. So you can call this golf course if you want to play, and they'll put you with a team. If you don't have a player, you can put your own team in there. So it's a blast. Secondly is, we did have a charter commission meeting last week, and we talked about the issues related to the city's council's request for the charter commission to meet and to confer and to determine, some issues with the Department of Public Utilities. It was the unanimous ruling of the Charter Commission that no written changes be made to the charter. After reviewing the charter, it was determined that the city has veto power, not just on the financial matters, but on all matters pertaining to the Department of Public Utilities. And there was a misnomer about the fact that we only can make a veto on financial matters. Now, we can on financial matters, but it has to be for a 2/3 majority of vote of the council. Other matters can be vetoed by just simple majority, based on what the charter says. The question that we all had was, what's going on over there? The packets that's sent to us, and I think you all have a packet that you did receive from the Department of Public Utilities, and I reviewed the packet, and the packet contains the consent, or the entire agenda that they always provide, and their financials. And I think what we're looking for is in the future, when they have projects that they're considering moving forward with, that we know about those projects, and it's in their packet that, we're looking for bids to repaint the water tower, or we're looking to put a new HVAC system in there, and this is what it's going to be about $750,000. So we're looking for some more information about what's going on over there and the expenditures. So just better communication. And I was obviously on the Charter Commission and the only council representative there, and so I tried to lay out to the commission and to those in the audience, which consisted of Greg French and all the commissioners, for the exception of Mr. Rapplinger was there, and Mr. Hofdahl was there regarding this, and made some clarifications about the packet has always been sent to the city, and that we have the information, and that any questions that we have about any project they have, all I have to do is give them a call. The question I think that we have was, well, we're not aware of those specific projects, and we'd like a little bit more communication. And I think they've come to the agreement that, look, we'll provide you as much as we can, keep you informed of what we're doing over there. So I think by improving that communication process, it's going to allay any issues that we have with respect to the charter itself. But it was enlightening to know that we do have authority. It's not just an autonomous entity. We do have authority in some regards, albeit only veto power, but we do have that opportunity. So it's just getting the information before those minutes are published, whether it's projects or just regular day-to-day business. So that was done. Now, Councillor Johnson.
I have a question about that, Mayor.
Yes.
We don't get the minutes, though, until they're approved at their next meeting. Isn't that correct? Or do we get the tentative preliminary minutes?
Yes.
I do email those out when I get them.
Okay. Okay. I couldn't remember. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Yeah, we should know that ahead of time. That's true. Okay, so that's all I have. Does anybody have anything from staff? Sherry, do you have anything moving forward? Okay, nothing from you? Nothing from Pam or City Clerk? Tom?
Nothing from me.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if there's nothing else that comes before the council this evening, again, it's been a spirited conversation moving forward. We'll continue to do the city's business in a professional way. We always try to do that. So until the next committee of the whole meeting, we are going to adjourn to then, and then our next council meeting will be Tuesday, October 8th at 2019 at 5:30 p.m. Everybody have a safe evening, safe weekend. See you next Tuesday. We stand adjourned.